Hello everyone, I'm talking to you from Shanghai. We are here in Workface, which is a co-working space in Shanghai, similar to the Impact Hub in other cities. And so we show you a little bit around here. We are just running a workshop with a lot of social entrepreneurs and business entrepreneurs and innovators and people who try to develop new ideas together. And we use kind of the guys now, as you can see, are doing case clinics, the ones that many of you have been also practicing. And we want to take a moment now to talk to you about how to conduct good learning journeys, sensing journeys. And yesterday we took a little trip, a little mini sensing journey to a school. And maybe that's a good example for how to take advantage of opportunities. So we just happened to be here. We took that side trip, and it was really eye-opening to me, to others. And that's an example how a sensing journey works. I want to talk to you a little bit about the why we do it, and then how we do it. In all the projects we have been doing over the past 10, 15 years, when you make, in the end, a project review and you say, okay, what was working, what didn't, and what was the most impactful activity that we did that really shifted things forward, one of the top 2 or 3 things always is this: sensing journeys. Taking people out of their own bubble and moving them into some sensing experience of another social field that just is renewing, allowing you to see, number one, reality with new eyes, and number 2, allows you to generate new ideas, and number 3 is building relationships with others that could be key or instrumental for implementing or prototyping of these ideas, and lastly, produce on the side of the people who take such a sensing journey a mindset shift, or the possibility of a mindset shift that is so much more profound and effective than we would have if we spent the same time in a workshop space. So that's really the 4 reasons why we do sensing journeys. And now on the how, the how starts with selecting the right sites. And what we found is the 2 most criteria for selecting the sites is, 1, is it relevant for what you are trying to do? And number 2, is that something, is that some place or some community or some organization you only know very little about? So where you get to the edge of your own knowing and move into your not knowing. And if these 2, if a place scores high on both of these criteria, you almost certainly can have a great sensing journey experience if you consider the 3 following how to process tips that refer to the before, during, and after of the actually conducting a sensing journey. So on the before sides, as you kind of move to the place, sometimes it's in the car, sometimes it's earlier when you're better prepared than we are often. So then you have a minimum conversation around the following 2 things. Number 1, what's our own question? So what is it that I am really wanting to explore in this sensing journey? Really clarifying your question is not at all limiting what you're going to perceive. It's sharpening your observation. And it's a great tool that you want to bring with you when you conduct a sensing journey. Number 2, you want to write down on the next page your key assumptions. The assumptions that about what you expect to see in the place that you're going to visit in a few hours or so. And writing down these assumptions, making them explicit, allows you, so what is when you finish these 7, 8 items there, what is that you just wrote down? It's your mental model. It's your assumptions about what you expect to see. And when you have written that out, it allows you, after the fact, after the journey, to return to that and say, okay, let me see. what is it from what I actually experience actually is reconfirming my assumptions, and what is it kind of where my actual experience actually deviates from what I expected to see. So what's the interesting new stuff that I came across? So those are like 2 baby steps of preparing. Then during, it's really mainly deep listening, asking powerful questions. Deep listening really means listening with your mind and heart wide open. And what does that really mean? Practically, to me, it often means accessing your own joy, accessing what you really enjoy about this other person, what you really love about this other person. And when you kind of use that as an entry point, it is very easy to access your empathy and access your love for another person. I always loved Ed Schein's point of access your ignorance, kind of as a method, and as a process consultant, to lean into, to be comfortable enough to lean into the unknown, into what you don't know. Because if you do that, you're much more likely to asking powerful questions, to asking great questions. And the same applies, that's kind of the level of the open mind, and the same applies to the opening of the heart. If you succeed in leaning into kind of your true interest, your true empathy, your true love of another person, that almost certainly builds a relationship that is opening up more interesting aspects of the social field you're inquiring. So those are the main things. You basically, yes, you have a list of questions. Yes, you have all these things that you prepared. But then at the end of the day, you're basically going with the flow. Kind of, you're going with kind of what's emerging from that situation. That's the during. And in terms of the after, here's the main tip. When you're done, when you exit that place, and sometimes if you can, you even have the debrief on site. That's great. That's actually a great thing to do if you can schedule that. Otherwise, maybe you're sitting with your group in the car or so. Rather than getting out your iPhones and cell phones and stuff, you want to turn to your journal right away and write down kind of the key things that you observed. What stood out, kind of what was surprising, what you noticed about not only the system that you observed, but also noticed about yourself. What new ideas have been generated kind of that could be helpful for you, and what it is that you noticed about yourself. Because in each journey that we take into another culture, into another social field, yes, there is something we can observe about that social field, but the true gift of all great sensing journeys are that we connect with a deeper part within ourselves. So yesterday, for example, I actually don't work that much at schools, and so visiting that school was actually a great experience, and feeling the energy of these kids, which is migrant worker kids here in Shanghai, a very disadvantaged group, and feeling kind of the energy, the co-creative power that they have when they are put in a halfway okay learning environment. That was something very moving, very touching, because noticing that immediately connects you to a deeper level within yourself. Something that isn't always awake, that something that isn't always activated. And it also seeds an intention of maybe an activity or a line of work that you want to develop moving forward. So in my case, maybe working more like a line of work that is kind of reinventing these learning environments for kids. And also kind of we were just about here in Shanghai to develop another project that focuses on, with all the multi-sector groups involved, that focuses on technology innovation. And going to this place, which was only halfway planned really, reminded me that so we need to bring the key government guys and all the technology innovators, we need to bring them into these places at the edges, kind of where they one-on-one with migrant worker kids and really begin to see their own system from a very different angle. So it also, the moment you do that, it triggers like a whole bunch of ideas that maybe further down the road could have been the most useful ideas you bring to the project. So that's a little bit an example. You want to plan out sensing journeys, right? That's one way of doing it, and it's a great way of doing it. But you also want to be opportunistic. So when an opportunity arises, like for us yesterday, there's a little window and there's a little possibility, you always want to go with it so you can take any moment. I mean, even when you're kind of standing at the airport and waiting in line for something, it can be that depending on how you relate to the social context around you, it can be turned into a mini sensing experience. So I want to also invite you to not only think about sensing journey as something that takes many days and needs to be planned months ahead, which may be true in some cases, and it may take you on the other side of the globe, but it's also something that happens spontaneously, happens through disruption in our everyday flow, and just takes you on the other side of the street, where you can encounter the other side of the social divide, of the social field you're currently engaged in. Both of that is possible, and we look forward to hearing from you what you guys come up with when you explore your social field.